he made an application for asylum in France that was rejected. Now, it was turned down just 5 days before yesterday's attack, which the French Interior Minister has pointed out as a troubling coincidence.
Now, 4 young children who were stabbed in a park in southeast France are now said to be in a stable condition. A 3-year-old British child was among those hurt. Let's speak to reporter David Chazan, who's in Annecy, where the attack happened. Morning, David.
Good morning.
Are we starting to get a little bit more information about what actually happened?
Yeah, we are starting to get more information about how the attacker entered the playground on the shores of Lake Annecy. This is a picture postcard lakeside tourist town, and the playground is right beside the lake, and he entered there where the kids had been taken by their families and started lunging at them. And the attacker was clearly intent on harming the children, although he also wounded a 78-year-old grandfather. But it's thought that that's more because the man was trying to stop him harming more children. We know that this man is a Syrian refugee. He was granted asylum in Sweden. He's said to be 31 years old, and he's thought to be mentally disturbed. It's emerged this morning from police sources that the attacker, who was shot and then arrested, but he wasn't seriously wounded, and he's now in police custody. And he is said to have been rolling on the floor while being questioned by the police, screaming, "Kill me," in English. So the police haven't really been able to get much sense out of him, according to sources close to the investigation.
I was reading a piece that you've written in the Times today with Adam Sage, and talking about the witness statements that have been given and the fact that this man was spotted sort of hanging around the play area in the days before the attack.
Yeah, that's right. He had been granted asylum in Sweden. He'd been married to a Swedish woman and they have a 3-year-old daughter. He made several applications for Swedish citizenship, which were rejected. So he then decided to leave Sweden. He came to France, it's thought, last autumn, and he made an application for asylum in France that was rejected. Now, it was turned down just 5 days before yesterday's attack, which the French Interior Minister has pointed out as a troubling coincidence. So is it thought that he felt so angry over having his asylum application rejected in France that he then decided to launch this horrific attack against tiny toddlers, real atrocity? We don't know, but as the Interior Minister said, it does seem to be a very troubling coincidence indeed.
And interesting, I was reading that a former Liverpool footballer was actually there and witnessed it and was shouting at the police to shoot the man.
Yes, that's right. He was in the park just by chance and saw what was happening. And so he followed the man and alerted the police to what was going on. So the Liverpool footballer is a guy called Letalek, and he said as he approached the scene, one of the mothers warned him and said, "Don't go there, there's somebody stabbing people, including children." But he nevertheless continued, and then he saw police officers 5 to 10 meters behind him, who at that point weren't able to stop the attacker. There were 4 or 5 of them, according to the footballer, and the footballer said he was shouting at them, "Take him out, he's killing everyone." And still according to the footballer, Letalek, he charged straight at a granddad and a granny. He stabbed the granddad, and that's when the police shot him. And the granddad fell to the ground, and the guy jumped on him and stabbed him a second time. So the 70-year-old grandfather was wounded both by a police bullet. The police obviously were aiming at the attacker, and then again by the attacker. Obviously a very confused situation for everyone, very unlucky for that grandfather who is still in hospital in critical condition.
I mean, the photos that are on front page of the Times today, on many of the newspapers, I'm looking at them on the app now, on the Times app, and there's a woman who is, I mean, it's just utterly heartbreaking as a mother just to see it. You just can't imagine what is going through her mind. She's trying to push away this man who's heading towards her buggy. I mean, he's at the buggy and she's pushing him away. I mean, how are people in this area? This is a tourist area. You've already explained how idyllic it is. How are people even processing and coming to terms with what has happened there?
Well, I think they're finding it extremely difficult. Everybody's stunned, shocked. A lot of people are in a state of near disbelief. And they're just saying, how can anybody do this to little children? What was going through the man's mind? And I think from talking to local residents on the streets last night, the consensus seems to be that most people think he's mentally unbalanced. French prosecutors have ruled out a terrorism motive, and I think most people here believe that this is somebody with huge mental health issues, but feel that it's just so unfortunate that it happened in their town, because this is a place that depends on tourism, and they feel that their hometown, its reputation has been stained with the blood of infants in this horrific attack, which is almost beyond belief. I think people are just struggling to cope, struggling to come to terms with it, and the authorities have set up a counselling unit for people who feel deeply troubled by it, who feel that they need help.
David, thank you for bringing us that update. That's reporter David Chazan, who's in Annecy, where the attack happened. You can read more on that in the Times today. Adam Sage and David Chazan have written a piece.